So hello everyone who hasn't met me yet. I'm Vladana Hrivnakova-Gonzalez and I do most of the communication and marketing for the WAOU United. And well, when it comes to my background, I do have background in like journalism and audiovisual studies. And I also have a degree in writing from the UK. That's why I think I can write in English, but sometimes I have a tendency to use the British English. So I need to watch for that. And I really like jumping into the nonprofit world because I didn't really enjoy working in journalism much, as I felt like a lot of the news that are posted are not very nice, basically. And a lot of stuff that gets posted these days, like very clickbait, kind of doomed to shock people, like create some sort of like a rage and anger. So jumping into the world of nonprofit communication was kind of what I always enjoyed. That's why I kind of stayed with it for the last, I think like maybe even 9 years. And so when you do like communications for nonprofits, it's usually like one person marketing department when you kind of connect all the different like aspects of it. So like graphic design, branding, all the communication channels, video, and like basically everything in one go. And so how did our brand happen? When I first came to WAOU United, I was like one of the volunteers. And we were just kind of like tasked with a way, like find a way, like help us find a brand, let's do something. So this is our one of the first groups we had. We started meeting online for our first time, but this was on our first in-person meetings. And as you can see, we had like a basic team at the beginning, but all of these people we wanted to like use their ideas and the input in creating our brand. So this is why I feel like WAOU United brand is a little bit different in this, because we really wanted to use like people in our community. So like say hello, maybe you recognize some people in there, maybe you met some. You can see like Jilska is in there, Mihuri can see herself. And so what did we come up with? So one of the first things we did, we actually had a virtual cafe or like an online cafe where we decided to vote for the colors we want. So we had like a lot of options to pick from. All of these options were chosen by one of our youth participants. So we had, I think, like 6 colors in total. So we use like a voting system like you have in a Zoom right now to pick a color. And this is the one that won, as you can see it on the left side in here. And why did we decide for this one? Well, for me, I really like the way it was, and for us it was kind of evoking as the Palm Springs or Coachella Valley sky, because for many ways you can definitely see these kind of colors. I see orange a lot, sometimes you can even see a pink. So there was like a lot of ideas, but this color basically very easily won. There was like not even others didn't even stood a chance. So I didn't personally pick up the colors. It was thanks to our youth team. So thanks to them, we have like really interesting color scale. And I feel like it does kind of give us like a specific warmth, and we try to evoke the Coachella feeling in it. So for our font, we also were voting for this because before this, there was no logo or anything like that. We were just trying to find our basic brand identity. So we decided also for Techo Medium because Mr. Epps, he wanted to use our full name in the logo. So WAOU United. So we kind of needed to choose something more compact. So we decided on Techo Medium. It was also a voting option. So this was also thanks to the people. And I'm also glad. It's a really cute font. It's also kind of technological, modern, and it's very compact. So it's really great if you're making posters because a lot of things can fit. And we are also using like a Montserrat for a lot of, sometimes Helvetica, because you can't always find them everywhere. So some places have this font, some places does not. So if you, in case you want to create something of your own, you know, like WAOU United, we can use any of these fonts. All of this will be available for you at the office or also online in our official branding guidelines, editorial guidelines, or sort of communication strategy. So give me a little bit of time. We are still trying to finish it, but it should be out in like, hopefully this month, if not the next month, but we'll work on it. And so this is it. So by choosing all of these things into our community, we started trying to come up with our basic logo. So this is like one of the better versions of the tryouts, but we have been through many options. because we were not sure like what to use as our main symbol. But Mr. Epps, he wanted to kind of show the unity of our brand. So we wanted to use hands as like a helping hand, like a hand being together. So in the end, we decided for this type of a logo because it kind of symbolizes not just the unity and a helping hand, but also there is some sort of like a circle. He just said it's like yin and yang, like people and colors working together, like in a certain unity. So I'm quoting you, Mr. Epps, in this. I still remember what you said.
Yes, did very good.
Yeah, and I do really like how you describe. I didn't even know when I was doing it, but think about the logos is usually also what it evokes in you, because that's the main reason for all the pictures and everything. And so when it comes to working in the communications or doing the communications, basically kind of everything. So there are like the print communication we'll always have. So the specific like a branding rules will fit to everything we do basically. And why do we do it? Well, I'm not sure if any of you heard about Edward Bernays. He's a very famous person in the history of marketing and public relations in the USA. So let me know, like drop like a one into the chat if you ever heard about him. And if not, I kind of advise you to check him out. He's a really interesting person. So he was a nephew to Sigmund Freud. And I think you do know Sigmund Freud. And so basically he was tasked by USA government to create a videos for the like war propaganda. But then he decided, he's like, wait, it doesn't have to finish there. So he started basically one of the first PR and marketing, big marketing films within the USA, because he found out like how much of a power the media and the communication and everything can have. And since him, he was like, for example, at the beginning of like smoking feminism for women, because he's the one who kind of made it easier for like women to smoke in public. And so you wouldn't know like how many things actually in USA history were influenced by him. There was also like a lot of racial undertones with like certain smoking things, like the mental smoking. And he's also one of the person who decided like, you ever heard like, oh, what's the typical American breakfast, like a bacon and eggs? It was not like that before at all, but this was also one of his campaigns. So this is one of the reasons why social media or all the communication and media are so important to nonprofits, because this is our way how we can directly communicate with our public, how we can like show like who we are, and especially how we can earn the public trust, because as a nonprofit, there's like certain expectations of you have to fulfill. So you have to be authentic, you have to be trustworthy, you have to show that you are actually, if you are receiving like any specific money, or if you are receiving money from specific funders, they want to know what's happening with their money, which is not always true for like brands that like companies that sell something. But we do not sell things as like actual things that you can hold, but we sell like a future, we sell programs, we sell happiness in a way. So when it comes to like we are One United, one of the first things we established was our LinkedIn and Instagram. Why I decided to go with these two at the beginning, because Instagram and Facebook, as you know, they're owned by the same company. It was not like that originally, but Meta bought Instagram like a few years ago, and a lot of the things changed. But also Facebook kind of changed lately, so it's really, really hard to start from nothing on a Facebook these days, as a lot of the content is basically kind of paid for. But on Instagram, there is still possibility to kind of start from nothing without paying. And as you know, as a nonprofit, it's sometimes really hard to put money into the things as ads, because why should we need it? I mean, we need the money for our programs. That's why Instagram is a great way how to slowly build your community from nothing. Of course, we also established our YouTube channel where we post these meetings too, our virtual cafes, and much more that we are planning in the future too. So check them out. And also, as our CRS team or any support that we have, we just started with our newsletter that we will put you on if you want, but it's kind of like we want to put everyone in there. So we will send you a link, and if anyone is on it, maybe we can share it between each other. So hello everyone at Com right now. I can't really see you, but hello. And so I pulled out some statistics for you because, as you know, it's kind of impossible to live without social media these days because it's all around us. The internet changed many things, and especially how we see and how we communicate. Like there's like a lot of interesting statistics. For example, like millennials or like the new generation under 30, they sometimes one of the first things they look for is to check whether the brand has any online presence. So they go on a website, they go on a social media to check like, is it good? Like, is it authentic? Like, do they actually exist? So that's not something brand had to deal with when they were like in the, I don't know, even 90s. They could have established their trust by different ways. But now it's like social media is a tool that it's either ignore it or use it. For us, it's better to use it. And as you can see, there's like a lot of interesting statistics, like which group, which ethnicities use Facebook. For example, Facebook is still very popular in my country, especially for political debates, but not as popular as anymore in the USA because certain demographics moved to Instagram. But Facebook now, when we started with it, was more like a students thing. You know, it was at the university. So as population grows up, everything changes. So Instagram is still seen as kind of more as in a way I'll say better social media because Facebook currently has like a lot of negative communication, especially when it comes to a lot of political campaigning. And also if you heard about the Cambridge Analytica scandal about the selling data. And also the reason why we want to use this social media is because we want to get our voice into the community as much possible. So we need to find out also where our people are. But more about social media, this is statistics I pulled out. And since one of our main mission is to nurture the future generations in our communities, we do have to take into account like how much are our teens using the social media. And as you can see, it's like 91%. So it's like not really everyone. It's like if you don't have it, it's maybe because your parents don't allow you to have it. But in any way, like our teens or our kids, they're basically kind of grow up with a smartphone, so they know what to do. If they're not using, they're using like texting application, they're using WhatsApp, they're using GroupMe, they are there. So that's why we should also be there with them. That's kind of one of the main reasons why to focus on the digital marketing as a nonprofit too. And the also very worrying tactic is 45% reporting they spend at least 6 hours a day using digital devices, which is a long, long time. And that is also one of the aspects that we want to address in our like a future work, because one of our main campaigns is a mental health awareness. So we do want to create more classes, like maybe talking about the dangers of social media, because as you know, there is like a lot of bullying on the social media, a lot of like predatory behaviors, like a lot of, and it's also like one of the reasons for like a lot of suicide rate. And specifically for our community, we do know like some of the first gang wars starts on the social media, when the teens kind of attack each other, because on the social media or on internet, you can be more anonymous. And you also say things that you would normally not say in your real life. I mean, how many of you sometimes just get into like a texting or like commenting things on a social media? And it feels different than actually saying that in like to the person. There's actually this amazing campaign called Tell It to Their Eyes, I like Tell It to Them, and it's talking about the refugees. You know, like there is a lot of there's like a lot of negative comments online on YouTube, on Facebook about the refugees and immigrants. But people only say those things because they can, and there are no repercussions. But if you like turn it around and ask them to say directly to the person, it's completely going to change. So the social media are the good things, are the bad things, but like we have to have them. And also, I just put a last statistics there, like 80% of the teens play video games, which is pretty interesting statistics. And also the thing about video games is a little bit more active hobby. Like when you watch TV, it's more passive, but video games, you're kind of a part of the world. So that's one of the things like social media and the teens crave. They want to be part of some sort of community. So that's why often they find specific communities online they don't find in the real life. Let's see more. And this is like one of the main reasons for using social media. And now I'm not sure if I am blocking the bottom, but as you can see on the bottom, there is supporting or connecting with good causes, which is like the lowest one from all of them. And this is super new statistic, which just made it to January 23. And for our goal as a nonprofit or all the nonprofits is to make this come from the bottom as a little bit higher. Because of course, if you go on a social media, you don't want to, it's not like you don't want to learn, but you don't want to do anything too hard because you're just browsing like for fun. But how we can like increase our support of the good causes by using all of the other ones in here. For example, interesting is like finding like-minded communities and interest groups. This is one of the things we can do, like create these groups for people, make them engage, like find some sort of community for them. Then of course, making new contacts. Social media, especially LinkedIn, are really, really great for networking and looking for jobs. That's why LinkedIn is seen as a little bit more professional social media than, for example, Facebook is. And of course, there is always TikTok, which is still a little bit controversial issue, as like a lot of governments are actually forbidding people from having TikTok on their smartphones, because there is some issues with the data breach and the fact it is kind of a, in a way, a spy app, but we also can't ignore the fact it's super addictive and it's really, really easy just to get into the scrolling frenzy for like hours. And the other one is like the finding content. It's one of completely on the top, and this is also what we need to fill, and this is also why we want to use our CRT members, our community specialists, to help us with this, to find the content in the community that can help us achieve our mission. So talking about that, like what is content, and it's basically everything. So each of this content can be brought to us by you. So if you have like any interesting idea I would like to share, we can always put it out. And as you can see here, basically everything is content, because there is a good old saying is like content is king, but the good distribution is queen. So we can help with the distribution of the content. I think I mangled that saying a little bit. But also one of the main marketing rules is you are not your audience. And this is also why we need our CRTs, because we have ideas, we have content, we have a lot of things we want to do, but for whom we are making this? So this is why we need you. We need to find out like which people, who is in the community, what would they be interested in, what are the hobbies, like what are the causes they want to support, or where they are. This is called like the target audience research, and so we hope we could have your support in trying to find us who is in our communities and what are they interested in. So as you can see, every minute, all the time on the internet, especially, so basically there are things constantly coming at you. We live in a world of information. And it was said actually even like 10 years ago, even in the 90s, they were saying like we live in a world of information. So imagine like every year it's getting even more and more and more. So we are constantly bombarded with information on us. So just by like having our smartphone, it's like having a small laptop. And then it's also not just that, it's also like things you can find outside, like all the billboards, that's information. Like everything you read is information. There's just so much coming in every person. So there also the saying, either we use it or ignore it. So that's why we want to use it to create like a better content, better stories for our community. Kind of not work against it, but work with it, because we know it's not going to disappear. Even if Twitter is right now is currently changing, there is actually one of the main directors of Twitter actually left, and they're creating their own social company called Blue Sky. We don't know what exactly is it yet, but it's available for testing. So even if one social media disappears, another one will be born. And so us as a nonprofit, or generally in all the advertising, what do they usually try to, how do they get you to buy the product or like do some action? It's basically by this, by trying to evoke some emotion in you, because of course you're gonna be more interested in a thing if you find it sad, or if you find it happy, or especially if you find it sad. And as you know, sometimes you've probably seen like a lot of ads from charities when they are using these like very super sad, almost like there's a word for it actually in the international community. It's called aid porn. So I apologize for mentioning this, but you've probably seen a lot of pictures of like crying kids, or like well, these are specifically made to elicit emotions in order to prompt people into caring about the case. But of course, we can do it much better. It doesn't have to be more like the cliche way of storytelling, but our way is to make it better. And also, it's as a nonprofit, as I said before, we are selling kindness. Basically, what we are selling is not products, not program, but we are selling kindness. And how do we get people care about us? It's by this. It's called Simon Sinek Golden Circle. And it's one of the famous kind of like branding strategies, because at first, when you are caring about something, you need to know why do you care about it. If you know why you're caring about it, you can easily make other people understand like why do you care about it, and from then you can find like how do you want to do it, like what do you want and what. So this is kind of like the other way, like if you can look at it. So basically looking for purpose. And that's what I also wanted to ask all of you today. It's like, why are you here? Why did you specifically choose We Are One United to be in here? Because as our community members, we are super glad you are in here, and we want to hear your opinions on, of course, on us and on your motivation to be part of the We Are One United, because each of you are kind of part of our team. So like Mr. Epps, if you would share your why.
I was just asking people for their why. That was actually what I'm writing right in the chat right now.
Yeah.
My why is, you know, somebody gave it to me. Somebody helped me when I needed help. And I felt very strongly that the very least I could do was pay it forward. But I also think that I believe in what we do, and I believe that it will really make a difference in people's lives. So for me, you know, my why is very much about contributing to us having not just a good world, but a great world, a place where people are treated with respect and that they live the kind of life that they really want to. So that's my why. Sorry, I didn't want to go too long.
No, it's beautiful. Thank you. Iris, I would like to hear yours.
Hello, everyone. We all have a purpose for being here. I believe we all have a destiny. Mine is service and caring and counseling and helping people through life's crises. But the number one reason that I joined We Are One United is that I have 3 great-grandsons that I want to be highly educated so that they can serve their communities, but also be very aware of Silicon Valley. The technical life that we have today is their future. So I'm laying a foundation for them to follow.
Lottie, we have someone in the chat.
Yes.
Candace typed in, serving is what I have been called to do. I love my community and I love people and really want them to know that they are loved. So that was from Candace Adams.
Oh, that's really beautiful. Thank you. What about you, Emma? I always wanted to hear yours again.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so how did I come to find We Are One United was actually through my dad, one of the board members. And like a lot of people have said so far, I've really always been called to help people. And I care a lot. I care for a lot of people. And it's energizing. Like it makes me happy. It keeps me going to be able to help people. And yeah, that's my why.
Thank you. Like Angelica.
I have to get to a quiet spot. But my why is originally I came at the request of John. He had told me We Are One United just got a major grant and I need help getting organized and on top of things. And I said, okay, sure, why not? And my why to stay has been, I mean, yes, community giving back, that's always just been, a part of me. But then I really fell in love with our team and I love working with our team and I love their energy. So I'm happy to see our team grow and I can't wait to work with all of you on the back end of things while you're on the front end, championing our cause. So that's my why.
Thank you. So if anyone wants to share, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat. If you can also even text it to us because it will be also, it's great to know like why people, what's the purpose of the people and why they would want to be here. For me, one of the reasons was I wanted to volunteer. I always like volunteering. I think it's thanks to my mom because even if I did not want to volunteer, she usually took me as a kid for a lot of different community activities when we were helping them. And so it kind of like stuck with me because I usually found out these things are really fun. And they're also the great way how to get to know the community, how to meet new friends. So I guess I have to officially thank my mom for kind of imprinting this like a community feel in me. So when I wanted to volunteer for We Are One United, I was kind of bored. So that's why I usually look for volunteering. But I also stayed because I believe in the future. And I stay because I want to do something that matters for the future. And one of those things is like a huge differences and income inequalities that in my mind should not exist because people should have options for for learnings, for education, for everything they don't have. So I'm always kind of angry by the fact they don't have this, and I want to kind of help achieve people to do it. Oh, we have
Got a couple of things in the chat.
Yeah, we have, oh, great. So from Jade, my reason is to help the community be aware of everyone within as well as mental health issues within the youth growing up. Great point. This is also one of the things we definitely care about as We Are One United. It's like, right, Jilska, do you want to say a little bit more about the aspects of mental health?
Yes, taking the stigma out of mental health is one of my goals and work with We Are One United. We need to become a resilient community, and hopefully as a team, we can gather the tools to help our community and our youth to work through their mental health issues by educating them and creating an awareness within our community.
And Mr. Frazier posted, I believe that everything that has occurred in my life thus far has led me to this place. It is an opportunity to use all of my experiences to benefit the community.
Oh, wow, that's a really great one. Thank you for sharing.
Julian, any thought? You might not be there.
I can always write to it. I actually also want to mention purple is my favorite too. I just finally seeing the answers, and I love purple color. And I also studied the psychology of colors for the brand, and I found out that purple is always, everyone loves purple. People don't really have negative connotations with the purple, and it's also one of the favorite colors with the youths, like teens. And so I was like, okay, why not use that? It's a good psychology of color. So that's why we wanted to stay more like uplifting, like appeal, so people could approach us, someone who not be afraid to come to us.
Right.
So thank you everyone for being here with us. Oh, well, Carrie, oh my God, so sorry. So Carrie says, speaking the language of the community and knowing what they really need instead of assuming what is important. She wants to be there to help in any way that she can. And the last part is the best. Also, Mr. Epps told me to come. So Mr. Epps, he's a great motivator in the community. So
I'm in so much trouble. Well, thank you, Vladdy. This was excellent. Thank you.
thank you. Zubair raised their hand. So Zubair, go for it.
There he is.
Thank you. Mine, I don't know how I'm going to mix it, but I grew up in a village where the saying is that the entire village has to raise up a kid. And in that sense is that you have to help no matter what. If you're a parent, don't look at the other child doing bad and you say, oh, that's not my kid. It takes the entire village. Not only that, when I came here, I joined the Rotary. And we say service above self. And I really went on getting jobs in government and so on. But the restriction that you really want to do, your hands are tied. Like you just have to follow what they have to tell you. But for years I worked with John. And what I learned from John and seeing him is that he gives you the flexibility to be able to be innovative, to be creative, to do what you feel is right. And he's there to support. So to come to your One United, I want really to give the services that I feel really our community needs. And also as a team, I know that we have a team, we are One United, we can discuss, and I will be able to do what I think is right with the support of our leadership. So I decided to leave other things to join We Are One United. So mainly flexibility and service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Zubair. That's great. So basically what Oliver just said about why you said that, and the most important part, how do you want to show your voice to the community? So how do we communicate with them and how do we connect them? And this is one of the reasons how we can, because I feel like what they feel is also what we feel. And I hope like in the future, we can create even much more connections with them. So thank you, everyone. And I'm not sure if I should introduce, but we have our youth data team in here. It's Miri and Charlie, and they wanted to talk a little bit about their work in the community. And they're very important for us because they will be doing surveys and the data work, which is extremely needed for any communication and marketing. So hello, Miri and Charlie.
Hi, Vladdy. Thank you for that. It was a really good presentation again. Yeah, so Charlie and I wanted to kind of just, we're doing 3 surveys over the course of the next like 6 months to a year. We're going to do a survey on community engagement, mental health, and then our youth summer programs. So the first survey that we're going to launch on community engagement, I just wanted to get the feedback or get some feedback from the group on just some questions that you might want to ask and haven't had the chance to ask. And then they will be on the survey for our greater community to answer as well. So I have 3 questions here that I'll go through, and feel free to jump in and tell me just kind of your feedback, or if you can create your own question, that'd be great as well. And then I'll take notes on them. So the first question I have are, what do you think the community's priorities are? Or what are priorities that you feel are needed for your own community? And I know they're kind of big questions, so if you need some time to kind of think about it and take a few minutes as well.
I think that communities need to be heard, and it would be good to ask some questions, kind of like seems like a lot has been going on with this program. I would say this came to mind.
How do you think these communities need to be heard, and how do you think they're not being heard, or people aren't being represented?
I think it might have to do partly with like lots of things were mentioned in like the last
Your
You
sound.
got muted. You got muted, Jacob.
Mhm.
Jacob, you muted yourself.
Yeah, Jacob, you're muted.
There you go. You're back.
You could start all over. That would be great.
Okay. But anyways, I was saying is like kind of like I think a lot was talked about in the last Zoom was things like economic or intergenerational or like cultural I guess like gaps would be one way to say it, or technology even is like because social media, you guys are talking a lot about like social media and like the way that we're talking about stuff, how we're being heard is through like technology. Like we're kind of doing all those things good. I think we got all kinds of different generations. We have the right technology, like we're connecting about different things about culture and stuff. So I think this is part of it. Good a lot of stuff I'm learning here.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else can kind of think of the priorities that they feel they need in their community, or things that they need to see that would be priorities or whole priority value?
I can go.
Sure.
So I think we have a great community, but again, the questions we are going to ask with our data gathering is why? Why is there disparity in our community? Why is there homelessness? Why is there racial divide? I think this is what we are going to find out from our data. So I think technology is very important on how we are going to be able to gather this information.
Are there any priorities that the group feels like that they see in their community and they don't want, they want them to just be strengthened and worked on, or, even something that younger generations, right? If we're targeting young people and creating programs for young people, we feel like there are priorities that we need to keep nurturing and fostering for them to benefit from.
Strengthening communication skills.
Okay, great.
Yes, teaching young people their voice, that they have a voice, that they can speak, but giving them skills and tools to work with so they know how to present themselves and that they feel comfortable, and that we kind of become a bridge to bring the two together, train them to go into an interview, train them to look people in the eye and look up from your phone sometimes. There's a lot of things that the older generation, or my group, even 50-something-year-olds, we can teach the 30-somethings and the 20-somethings about how to conduct themselves in a crowd, how to speak with their body language as well as their mouth. Let somebody know give them confidence. These kids don't know who they are. There are a lot of identity issues that need to be addressed, and a lot of it is also tied into mental health issues. So yes, I'd like to see more mental health issues addressed in our community, particularly because I've gone through it with my son, and I had to be an advocate for him. So we need more advocacy in our communities for mental health, I believe. where I live in the Palm Desert area and all of this area around here. I see too much residual homelessness, if I can say it that way. They sleep at the bus stop for a month, and then they get a check and they go get a motel for a month, and then they back at the bus stop the next month. So there's an issue there that needs to be addressed.
Okay, great. Thank you guys. Those are really great. So that kind of perfectly will take me into my next topic that we're gonna ask. We want to kind of gauge the mental.
Mihiri, I think Mr. Fraser raised his hand. If
Oh,
you
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Mr. Fraser. Go ahead.
Okay, one of the things I was thinking that as we approach the community, what strategies or technique does the community feel that we need to implement to get them to be more active in this process? So it's easy for us as professionals to say what we think that they should do, but when we ask them, what do they think we need, if we did more of this, what can we do to get them more involved from their perspective?
Yeah.
Maybe that would come through us doing surveys
Yeah.
of them,
And so that's
asking of them to tell us.
right. That's what we're gonna do. So kind of just gathering some ideas. So when we do write up these questions, we have to follow a survey methodology. We'll be able to ask really relevant questions and make it count and get the best feedback that we can, and have people feel like, you know, they have a voice and they can respond honestly and tell us really what they need.
Beyond the surveys, are there any other techniques?
Mhm. Surveys are the three are the technique, I guess, we're following for now. That's our primary way of data collection, but we might go into other avenues of, you know, collecting data and kind of gauging.
Mr. Fraser, what would be some ideas that you would suggest?
Possibly in-person town hall meetings, things of that nature. Definitely things that are in person, getting them to, because some people don't feel comfortable like doing surveys. They think they might, for whatever reason, you know, whatever tools, a podcast, you know, getting people to live interactions or something like that. Well, however we can draw that information out from them, utilize what do they think we can utilize to get them more engaged?
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for that. That is really good points. Good ideas.
Mr. Fraser, we have our career fair coming up, and one of our ideas is to reach the youth at the career fair. It is being held at a high school. So we're hoping a lot of high school students come, and then we're gonna come up with ways to engage them, to, you know, ask questions, and like, you know, we'll be asking career focused questions, but we might be able to slip in some community development type questions as well. So that will be one way we'll try and get in live with the youth, even though the career fair is targeted to all ages, but I think we'll have a good population of youth at that event that we can tap into.
That's good.
Yeah.
And we also have our community event on April 24th. Similar to the one that we had at the restaurant and the leisure center last week.
The leisure center.
Last month, yes.
April 24th, where would that event be held?
We're still working on the venue.
Well, we were thinking about the office in Desert Hot Springs.
Yeah, there you go. That would be great.
Repeat that. You were thinking about what in Desert Hot Springs?
It's still to be determined, but we have a new office in Desert Hot Springs, so we were thinking about that as the venue for that event on the 24th.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Okay, so then I will keep going on to the next topic. So the next topic we want to, create some questions around our mental health and kind of gauge the climate of individuals and how they feel their mental health is. So does anything come to your mind as to important things to ask anybody when you meet them, or you're trying to communicate with people regarding their mental health?
Let me support kind of the start of this conversation. We recognize that COVID had traumatic effect on almost everybody. And really part of what I think we'd like to know is how we can reach out to people so that we can find out where they are right now. Because for some people, it's kind of like, okay, COVID's over and everything is going to go back to normal. And there's no going back, right? I mean, I don't think that we go back from here, we go forward. So if you have any ideas about how we can help people to discuss or disclose or dialogue about mental health, I think those are some of the questions we're asking. If you could give us some ideas. Am I right, Mahiri? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe focus groups.
Okay.
I was just listening to a documentary that was saying that because COVID was so isolated, kept a lot of people isolated, and it has become on the spectrum now of loneliness. There's a lot of loneliness out there and a lot of care that needs to be taken to those that are lonely. You're already stressed. There's already things happening in your life, and then on top of that, you're lonely as well. So I think focus groups, an old school focus group might be the way, or maybe gatherings of some sort. Small, intimate gatherings, not necessarily huge, but little intimate gatherings. For people in different communities.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
I think back when I was in college and I was in student government, the way we got students to meetings was bribing them with pizza. So maybe if we can get in with a counselor or like a program director at the different colleges, I mean, this is for the older youth, we could have them identify a group and then help invite them to these, after class focus groups, I guess. Or we could do that. I don't know if that's possible at the high school level, but that's an idea.
Well, the high school level also, they have different clubs, ethnic clubs or whatever kind of clubs they have. Maybe somehow Jilska is getting into the schools, then each club could say, I don't know, for instance, have a pizza party for the clubs and then have them to sit and talk about these things, talk about their whys or their mental health issues, or how they can help with the mental health issues.
Yes, I agree. I think there is similar club in Palm Springs High School we definitely need to reach to, but also what I found out when it comes to like current teens, they sometimes don't want to speak it, especially not in front of the other people, because it is a very hard questions. So we can always find a way how to make them say it, but like anonymously, or so they don't have to say it in front of their peers, because it is hard to talk about your problems. And also leads me to the other thing when it comes to mental health. I feel like they are pretty aware because they're very tech savvy, they have all the information available, so they might be aware of what's happening, but they don't know how to deal with it because it's really expensive to get any form of a mental health treatment, basically. So yeah, and I think Mr. Fraser wanted to say something too, so I'm not sure we skipped you.
No, I think Zubair is up now, and then Mr. Fraser.
Thank you. I think as we look at what questions or to engage people, we should look at really before even they get to mental programs, prevention. And I'm looking at what kind of either activities or questions we could ask. Mainly the health workers, when we're talking of care for caregivers, they are people, because they are stressed so much, either taking your care of a loved one or just working as usual. They are so stressed that they decide either to turn to drugs. So then from drugs, which once it caused to be more, they end up either having mental health problems. So I'm looking at those lines, how can we even tackle it before they get there? There is a model in Europe which they call memory cafes. If we could look at places where we could put memory cafes, and the memory cafes, what they do, they bring seniors together. And when they bring them together, they either cook, those ones who used to cook the food that they love the most, and really they are happy doing that. Some of them really, you put on music that they used to listen to, and they all really light up. And then they give opportunity for the caregivers to take off to be somewhere. So if we can look at activities and also prevention before they get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabira.
Mr. Fraser, did you want to speak?
Yes. For one thing I find difficult to do is do hypotheticals. And so I just kind of keep it real. Just today, as Mr. Epps knows and Zubair knows, I work for an organization, African American Health Coalition. And my catchment area is from Beaumont to Coachella. Now, just today, this morning, I started my day. And as my day started, I got a call from Mr. Pelham. And you guys know who Mr. Pelham is. And Mr. Pelham had a young man who is currently in his care at his office. This young man is 20 years old. This young man was a former foster youth. So he called me, he said, hey, do you have a placement for this guy? Or can we find somewhere to place this guy? He's homeless and he needs help. I said, well, let me check my resources. So I diverted from what I went to do. I doubled back to Mr. Pelham's office and I met with this young man and I did a presentation, which what I do mental health presentations, grief and loss presentations, and suicide prevention presentations. So I met with this young man, did a presentation. I got the information. Then once I got enough information, I thought I had a path for him to go to AB 12 because he was a former foster kid. But it turns out that was not a viable option. So he's still at Mr. Pelham's office. So having said that, we have a lot of talent in this room, as Mr. Epps always said, the talent is always in the room. And we just need to tap into it and utilize it. If we had street teams that we can dispatch in the community, which have the talent from these different agencies, Department of Social Services, probation, transition, we had all the talent, we had a street team that we're sending out to the community, we are in a better position to help these people that we encounter. And it starts here. We got to start with a street team. Because it's my job is just to go connect with these people in the community, to give them a name and a number as a resource, and then turn around and walk away. Well, this young man needs more than that. And I got a problem with that. I cannot turn around and walk away. He needs way more than that. I need to know when I hand him to the next person, I need to know that his needs are being met and he is cared for. I'm gone on to the next challenge. we need to solidify this thing a little bit more and find out a better way how we can really serve the different challenges that we encounter in the community. I'm done.
I think that's it. That's a very good example, Mr. Frazier. And I think part of collecting some of this information is really what will help us as we start trying to address, some of this, because we'll know better what programs and people are available in the community. And I think you're absolutely right. We're moving in that direction. That's a part of starting these questions and starting doing this. And I think, whatever it takes for us to get to that place, this is a part of that journey. And so, but we hear you, and we know that unfortunately, we may not be quite there yet, but I would say that is definitely the direction we're moving in. And I got a call today also about this, and so I know what you're talking about. Miss Iris, you had your hand up?
I did. We have Alcoholics Anonymous. We've got drug groups that are not anonymous. Why couldn't we have Depression Anonymous group?
Very good. Yeah, I think that's part of what we have to identify. What are some of the needs? What are some of the ways that we could do that? We have people in this community who have a background that could help us. We have people who might have facilities or resources that could help us. And our job is going to be to find and identify those, and then to actually start to implement, just as Mr. Frazier said. We got to go from talking about it to being about it, so that when somebody shows up like this, we can really plug them into something. But it's a process. It's not immediate. But I think that's what bringing you together as community resource specialists is all about. And understanding what is available is a part of that process. And, as we go forward, I think we'll get better at being able to do more for people. I think that's going to be very important. Mihiri, did you have anything else before we go to the last piece?
No, yeah, that's all I have for you guys, and thank you for answering those and being honest and transparent and sharing your constructive thoughts. So yeah, Charlie and I will do the best that we can, and hopefully we'll get all of this on there for people to have a better way to communicate more openly about how they feel and what's going on, what they need. So thank you.
That was really good. Well, everybody, I'm gonna throw something out there, because as we're talking about this topic, I think it's really very timely. One of the things that we have this training on Tuesday, and then we come back and we do it again on Thursday night. And it's always a little bit different, because we learn stuff on Tuesday that kind of informs us on Thursday. And so it's kind of a good synergy in that it takes kind of our beginning things and moves it on. But one of the questions that came up on, or one of the things that came up on Tuesday, and Mr. Frazier, I think this fits in exactly with what both Zubair and you have said today. And so I'm going to ask everybody, just take a minute, and we're going to go back to the chat. And what I'd like for you to do while I get things set up and ready to go for the last little part of this tonight is tell me a little bit about when we talk about being a village, what is important about us working together as a village? To you, what would be one of the most important expectations or functions you think you would like to see us? I believe that we are forming a village as we speak. And we know it takes a village. You know, Mr. Frazier, I'm very glad that you interceded with the young man today. You know, Terry was there. He was trying to get him placed. So we had a lot of people trying to move the ball forward. We're going to get better at doing that, but that's part of our village, right? That we knew to call you, we knew to talk to him, he knew to take him to Mr. Pelham. These are important pieces. So for you, if you take a minute, everybody, each of you, and just put into the chat kind of what you think makes a village important to you and to the community. And while you do that, I'm gonna try to set up my screen, which is always kind of, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so just take a minute, and could you, Vladi and Angelica, help me out by just as things are going into the chat, if you can start sharing it with us, that would be real helpful, because it's hard for me to do two things at one time.
Well, for now, we only have 2 answers, so everyone, don't worry, just drop it in the chat and then we can talk about it. So you still have like 55 seconds.
Yeah, it's going to take me a minute.
Anyone else? So for now, we have security, cooperation. Village needs to be, the village has to have trustworthy and with honest communications. Like, yes, so being trustworthy with honest communication. And this one is great. Teamwork makes the dream work.
I love it. That's very well said.
Also have openness and service above self. Yeah, it's great. Be willing to help.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other ideas,
I
suggestions?
put something in the chat.
Anybody see?
I think there might be a slight delay as questions pop out. So we
What
have
I-
don't worry, go for it.
That what I put in the chat, that collectively we have done our best to provide the highest quality of service to the people that we serve. One thing we got to be realists at the same time. We're not going to solve every situation. It just doesn't work like that. But as long as we've known as a group, as a collective group, we've done our best, I can live with that at the end of the day. We've done our best. And when you've done your best, nobody can expect any more.
It's a great one.
So is my screen showing something?
Yes, becoming a village.
Yeah, that's the one. So, you know, I just think, Mr. Frazier, you summed it up, kind of what I've been thinking, which is, you know, we are a work in progress. I think we are really trying to address some pretty stubborn problems that are not new in our community. They didn't happen overnight. We're probably not going to be able to fix them overnight. But I think it is going to come down to our ability to work together as a team to begin to have some impact on those issues. I think that people are looking for not what we say, but what we do as a team. I think, you know, we really have a great opportunity to make a difference. And that's one of the reasons I welcome you here. But I also want you to know it's not going to just be the 16 or 17 people that are here tonight. We really need to engage everyone who makes up the community, and we need to bring everyone into the solutions that we are looking for so that they are sustainable, so that they will begin to really have not just be, high impact, but also high quality. So I want to take a few minutes and I like music. I don't know about anybody else here, but music they used to say music soothes the savage beast. I don't know if there's anything savage about me, but I know music seems to help me. So I found this song, so I just want to play it for a couple seconds. And then I just want to talk a little bit about some of what I think can help us as a team going forward. So if you would be patient, I hope that this plays well. If not, I hope that it puts you in a place that I want you to go. So can you all see that okay moving? Hello?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Good.
Hey, look, I pray you catch a wave. It doesn't subside. This for the nappy heads in heaven. With an nappy head Christ by their side. I pray you catch a wave. That doesn't subside. This for the nappy heads in heaven. With a nappy head Christ by their side. Yeah. May your streets be paved with gold. Yeah. Hope my whole hood make it home. Yeah. May your streets be paved with gold. Yeah. Hope my whole hood make it home. Yeah. Cause the world can be toxic, especially when your skin look like chocolate. At one point they sold us for profit, but we made it out of the gauntlet we chosen. Yeah. Oh my mama, the south side still holding. Yeah. Go for broke for the ones that are broken. Yeah. Please don't make me no hashtag or slogan. My whole hood is loaded. That's why I pray you catch a wave that doesn't subside. This for the nappy heads in heaven. With a nappy head Christ by their side.
So tonight, I want to take a few minutes. I want to talk with you guys about some of the things I think are really important for teams who want to work together. For a long time, I used to teach at UCR Extension, and one of the topics I taught was leadership, communication, and teamwork. And I think these are principles on which we have to build our team. I think one of the things, a gentleman named Patrick Lencioni wrote a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And I found it very inspirational because having worked with groups and communities and schools and all kinds of things, I found that often these 5 things really are the principles, the essential principles that we get a chance to build upon so that we can be our best selves. Because before we can help the community, we really need to get our act together. We really need to be a group that can work together. And one of the things I want to say, again, your comments tonight tell me a lot about the authenticity and reality of why you are here. I think Vladi was very wise to start with the golden circle, because it's really all about what's your motive, what brings you here. But I think what I hope brought you here was being part of a team that's going to change this community, not from the outside where we walk in with a program and start preaching to people, but from the inside. And that's why we've asked Mahiri, Charlie, all of our team members that we're going to have you be the ones that go into the community to listen, to find out what they think is important, to find out what their priorities are. And then we can design solutions. We're not going in with, well, here's what we say you should do. Now we have research and we have, experience that we can bring, but when it's all said and done, we have to meet the needs and the will of the community if we really want to see that community elevated and lifted up in a way that will bring us the kind of change that we're looking for. So I'm going to talk about these 5 dysfunctions, and the first dysfunction is that a lack of trust. I just want to be real honest. Most people, when you have to say, I want to be real honest, that tells you something about the level of trust that we often have. You should never have to say, well, to be honest with you, because I'm hoping you're honest with me, period. I don't want you to have to say, well, to be honest with you. So, but in order for you to do that, you make yourself vulnerable. One of the challenges for people is that, vulnerability means you could get hurt. And when you trust people, I know this never happened to any of the people here, but I know for me, for example, every so often, I get hurt by people because they know things about me that they can manipulate or take advantage of. I'm not sorry about that. I'm not going to back away from what I'm going to do because of that. But I need to recognize that when you're vulnerable, you do get banged around a little bit. And it's really important to be inclusive. One of the toughest things I know is that, when you want to build trust, you need to bring everybody into the picture. You can't build trust and half of the community is there and the other half is not. Everybody in the community needs to come together if you want to build trust. And in some cases, there's been trauma and there's been hardship, there's been difficulty in those communities. And so we also have to do the job of restoration. We have to bring it back together and we need to rebuild. And again, those things didn't get broken overnight. We're not going to get them fixed overnight. But if we don't start somewhere, we're not going to get anywhere. If I can think of one example in the country of South Africa, when Nelson Mandela was working to start to turn that whole apartheid culture around, one of the first things he recognized was, well, this can't be a Black against white thing. This can't be a thing about retribution. This had to be a thing about restoration, because everybody has interests, everybody has needs. And what we have to do is be able to help rebuild that so that when we do bring a young man into our community who needs housing, somebody can say, hey, I've got a spare room, he can stay with me, or I have this camper, we can put him there. See, a lot of it is we just think about the formal systems, but there are a lot of informal resources and systems in place. We just have to find out where they are, and we have to get people to trust us enough, and we have to trust one another that what we're doing is for the betterment of all of us and not somebody taking advantage of us as we go along. And then the next thing that we have to recognize is that whenever you bring 2 people together, you are going to have difficulties. And often those difficulties will manifest themselves as conflicts. And what a lot of people will do is, rather than kind of try to deal with those differences respectfully, they will just try not to say anything. And you can't build if you don't have trust. But if you have trust, now you're going to run into this place of conflict, and that trust won't have the quality you want if you're not able to learn that, you know what, we don't agree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. And I think once we start to recognize and respect one another so that we would be willing to honestly confront, Mr. Frazier, I heard a little bit of fire in your voice tonight. And I was happy to hear that, because that's what it's going to take to make this change happen. And we'll find a way together to solve it. Now, I'm not going to suggest that I would agree with everything everybody's going to say, because guess what? I don't. But here's what I am going to say. Even if I disagree with you, I'm going to listen to you. Even if we make a decision that's not popular for one or two or three people, we're still going to try to make the decision that's in the best interest of the most people. But I'm here to suggest to you that somebody told me when I first started out as a leader that if everybody's happy with you, you ain't doing your job. Because guess what? You are going to get on somebody's nerve, as my mom used to say. And so you have to recognize that there will be conflict with people, but actually we need to recognize that conflict is good for us, because we can use that to try to make better choices, to try to come up with better decisions. There's an old saying that says iron sharpens iron. Sometimes we just have to be able to come into that space and just put out there that, I think it should be left and you think it should be right. And guess what? We're going to have to talk it through and try to find a solution without necessarily getting to the place where we're disagreeable or disrespectful of one another. And when we do that, now we got to get people who recognize that, okay, I'm going to buy into this solution, because we can't have everything all the time that we want. Sometimes I get what I want, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes, I remember early in my marriage, sometimes my wife would disagree with me, and then I would make a decision, and it wouldn't necessarily be what her thought was on that thing. And at first, I think she thought I wasn't listening to her, but we sat down and we had a talk, and she understands, no, I listened, but we had to make a decision, and this is what I thought was our best decision in this case. And she understood that I was respectful, I had listened to her, but now we were going to go forward. And it was critical for us to be going forward together. Too often when we make decisions like that, when we're trying to deal with something like this, this disagreement that we have, we don't make a real commitment. And it's really important. I know some of you, I told the group on Tuesday, I used to work at a church, and we'd have a meeting at the church and everybody would say, yeah, on Sunday, this is what we're going to do. And then when they walk out the meeting, they would go to these little groups. Now, I know you guys have never seen this and you guys never did this, but like it'd be the group over there that would say, that was the worst decision I ever saw. Another group would be over here talking about, so we all going to move down the street to a different church because these people don't know what they're talking about. Now, this is the way I feel. If you felt like that, you should have said that in the meeting. But once you walk out of that meeting saying, I agree, then you need to recognize this is no longer the pastor's plan or John's plan. This is our plan. Because once we get in, we have to be all in together. Otherwise, we will be fractured. We will be broken apart. We'll lose our strength. And so it's really important to recognize we ain't always going to agree going into something, but if we go into it together, then you need to know I got your back. Even if I don't think you're right, even if I don't agree with you, even if I didn't think that you thought it all the way through. Because this is one thing I've learned as a leader. Sometimes I have to let you fail in order to help you succeed. Did anybody hear me say that? Is anybody still out there? Because I can't see y'all, so I'm hoping.
I heard you. I heard you.
Yes, I heard you.
Disconnected. I hope we didn't get disconnected. It gets quiet sometimes when you step on people's toes. But these are, you got to have the ability to be honest in a conflict, so that when you get to the commitment stage, you can say, well, I know they heard what I had to say, they listened, They made a decision that maybe I agree with, or maybe they made a decision that I didn't think I would agree with. But at this point, we becomes more important than I. And I have to say, you know what? We are going to do this and we're going to see where it goes. And even though maybe somewhere in the past I see it, I don't think it's going to work. And by God, it might not work. But here's what I know. I'm going to do everything I can in my power to make it work. And I'm going to be committed. And that's what real commitment is about. It's not always saying, well, of course I agree with you, so I'm going to make a commitment. Real commitment is all about, I'm not sure, but here's what I know. I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to be vulnerable to maybe even getting hurt. But here's what I know. We are a team and we have to stand together or we will fall apart. It's really just that simple. But once we start making these commitments, I need to suggest to you that we do have to recognize that there's a certain level of times when we have to hold each other accountable for our, decisions, right? And this is where people, this is where I like to say this. I want our team to be a no excuses zone. And maybe I should say that again. Listen, life happens, stuff is, I get all of that. But let's not use it as an excuse. Let's figure out how to not have that happen over and over and over and over. And too often, there's no accountability. There's no, kind of way to hold people to what they said, what our vision, what our values are. And as a result, we begin to lose our strength. It's when we hold to our vision, when we hold to our values, when we back our decisions, and right or wrong, we take responsibility for it. I wish I could have done more, but I did my best. As long as you can say you did your best, then I'm going to back you all the way to the bank. That's just how it's going to be. Because this is what I realized. None of us is perfect, even except me maybe, but none of us is perfect. And so, no, I'm not perfect. My wife will be sure to tell you that. My kids will be sure to tell you that. But here's what I know. They trust that if I made a decision, I made it in the best interest. They're going to hold me accountable. They're going to kind of frown at me sometimes. But this is the one thing they know. They know that I'm reliable. I'm going to be there. And if that's what I said I was going to do, I'm going to try to do my best to make it happen. And that's what we have to do, because it's really important for us to recognize that we want to serve the community. Let me say that one more time. We don't want to change the community. We want to help the community. We want to create a result where the community is up, not us. Here's the really good news. You can never do more for others than is going to come back to you. Let me say that one more time. The more I do for you, the more comes back to me. Not necessarily from you. You don't have to pay me back. That's not what we're talking about. What I'm talking about is that every time you do good deeds to other people, then I want to let you know that the universe does good deeds for you. Now, I don't know how that rule got in place, but I got to tell you, I've been living that way for 71 years. And the one thing I can tell you is haven't missed too many meals, haven't had too many sleepless nights. Now, I might have tough sleeping nights, don't get that wrong. But you know what? If I feel like I did my best, then I think we're going to make a difference. And I think that results is what people need to see. What did you say earlier, Mr. Frazier? It ain't what we talk about being a community outreach team. It's outreaching in the community, right? We got to get out there. We got to get in people's faces. We got to listen to both their good comments and their bad comments. And we have to recognize that we ain't who we were yesterday. We're trying to be better today. And we're going to keep trying to get better every day until we get to a place where maybe we're better. So I just think if you think that these 5 things are important, if you take a minute, could you put the one you think you might need to work on the most in the chat for me. Could you guys do that? Could you just flash the one that you think is maybe most, kind of, yeah, I'd like to really work on that, Mr. Epps. Anybody got something in the chat for me? My chat friends, can you help me out? Anybody put something in the chat? Am I in the wrong place?
I think Dr. Posova put something really nice in the chat. If you want to say
Go ahead,
more
read
about
it. Yeah, read it.
I mean, if maybe he wants to talk about it.
Go ahead, Dr. Pessoa. You want to say something? Let's see.
Okay. The chat that I put earlier had to do with the idea of the village. And I was trying to, in my own idea, having come from a village at one time, living in small villages in Sierra Leone, and how decisions were made. So I was just thinking back. And I said, the idea of a village, in my view, is to care about the needs and problems of all the members of that village. So villagers, like we are talking about a team, we must avoid sometimes organizations infighting. You form little groups. For example, mental health group. I haven't seen this, so please, nobody, don't get mad. So you form a mental health group comprising, say, 6 people, and then there's a little division inside them. They don't get along. So that is destructive then to the village as a whole. So avoiding fighting, and then what I call destructive competition. Like, who is going to be the one whose name is going to be A+? So in the village, you don't have that, because the village behaves in a communal way. If the village succeeds, everybody succeeds. If the village falls, then everybody falls. So there, you don't have this finger pointing, like, oh, I did this. If I hadn't done this, the program would not have succeeded, and so on. And the focus has to be on the greater good of the entire team. Just like in military terms, a platoon, well, you don't leave anybody behind in the village. So I just wanted to comment on that earlier on.
Thank you. That was really good. Are there any other comments in there, anybody? Go ahead, Jessica.
Oh, no, I didn't have anything to say.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Anybody? Candace put something in.
I put in results.
Okay. Thank you, Iris. Mr. Frazier put in vulnerability. Candace put in conflict would be an area I would need help with. I believe conflict is good, and most people are more comfortable with not saying, and you have a tendency to speak your mind. Well, welcome to a safe, messy place. Because when you make it safe, you make it messy. Because you can't have safe and tidy. Okay, so you're gonna catch attitude. Sometimes other people gonna catch your attitude, but we're gonna be like brothers and sisters. Anybody here have brothers and sisters where you catch attitude, but let somebody else come in here and mess with one of my brothers or my sister. It is not good news for you, because we are family, we are village. That's what we have to have, that attitude. And you know what? We may really say words to each other today that may not always be kind, but tomorrow we pat each other on the back, because we understand that we have to unconditionally accept each other for who we really are, and then work to help one another become better. But I can't help you if I start shutting you out, if I start cussing you out, if I start putting you out. So the only way we can do that, we got to stay together. And that's not always easy, but I got to tell you, it's always rewarding. And so that's the work we're going to have to start doing. I'm going to try to move forward if it's okay. I know there might be a few more comments, but I'm really excited because I think that maybe you guys are getting some of what I'm saying. So I want to talk about one more idea before I go, and kind of a half an idea, but I'm going to try to reshare my screen. Now, this is the adventure of John, right? Because now he's actually pretending he can go back. So did something show up that says triple bottom line? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Again, I'm kind of working with this technology, and so right now I see my screens, but I don't see anything of you. So I have no idea if you guys are sitting there. And I have to tell you my sad story. One time I was at a webinar, somebody had a webinar, they was good information, and the guy was talking for about 30 minutes. He was just going, and here's what this is, and here's what that. And then I kind of broke in, I said, you know, we're still looking at the first slide, right? He had been talking for 30 minutes, gone through about 20 slides. So that's why I check. I hope you guys don't mind, but you know, somebody said, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So I'm gonna ask, and so I hope you don't mind. So I want to talk about this idea of how do we make our team work? Where did the power for our team come from? And again, I love books, and I'm gonna always talk about books. And there's a book called Building High Performance Organizations by Kenneth Blanchard. And I believe that leaders are readers, so I'm always gonna talk about books. And people always laugh at me because it's like, Mr. Epps, you know we ain't read no books. So I'm gonna suggest to you that you might not wanna be in that group so that you can say, well, you know, the last book I read was such so-and-so. As a matter of fact, if any of you have a book that you read lately, then please put it into the chat so we can know about it. But if you haven't and you're looking for a book to read, please send me a message, because I will try to make sure that you get that book to read. I don't have any problem buying people books. Hopefully you understand that when we read, it transforms our brain. It changes our brain, you know, and I think that one of the things that we have done as a culture is get away from this idea of going in that world where books takes us. And I think that often a lot of the solutions to what we want are in the things that we read. So I'm always going to talk about books, but in this case, Ken Blanchard talked about something he called the triple bottom line. Now, usually when people talk about the bottom line in a business, they're talking about the cash, right? So are we in the black? Are we in the red? And if the numbers are positive, then everybody says we're doing a good job. And no matter how many people die from pollution because of what we did, but we're doing okay. No, that's not going to cut it. And so what Mr. Blanchard did was he says, here's 3 things that we think are really, really important for people in terms of really understanding the value of what they do. Now, you know, a lot of times it's a continuum in life, right? We don't do just one of these things. We have to do all of these things. And so the first one I want to bring up is what he calls the provider of choice. One of the things I would like us to do is be the people that people come to when they want answers. Mr. Frazier, the fact that they called you today says you're a provider of choice. They said, we're trying to find a solution. And I know how hard they were looking, because like I said, they called me. And I was in the middle of another meeting. I took their call because it's important. But here's what I want to say. They called you because they trust that you will try to find an answer for them. And you have done that in the past. You have proven yourself already that guess what? If you come to me, I'm going to do what I can to make a difference. Now, when people see people like that, we know that that's not everybody. And so what people do is they say, well, I'm gonna go back to that person the next time. Now, some of us, we try to avoid that, right? Some of us, we don't want them to call us. But here's the good news. That is a sign of great respect and that you have done a good job if they are calling you. And you know, some of us, we go out, we have dinner and we buy clothes and we like those clothes and we might go back and buy ourselves something. But if we go somewhere and we really like the food, or we go somewhere and we buy something, we think like a sharp hat and we want everybody to have that hat, then we want to take everybody back with us. So the way you know you're the provider of choice is when you have fans. And I would like to tell you that Mr. Terry, Mr. Pelham, those guys are your fans, Mr. Fraser. I'm one of your fans. And that makes you a provider of choice. Well, We Are One United to be a provider of choice. We want We Are One United to be who people in the community do feel they can call. And by building up the information that we have to share with them, by understanding what resources are available in the community, by being able to help them develop the skills and plans that they need so that they can not create temporary but permanent change and grow their community, we can get them to think of us first. We want to be that one who they turn to. It doesn't matter how big you are. You know, sometimes people are like, well, people only go to the biggest, or people will go to the one that helped them get where they needed to go. And we need to learn how to be that one. You members of the team will be, you know, part of us being successful doing that. And so the second thing is to bring that team up to speed. So the second thing that Mr. Blanchard said is you have to be the employer of choice. And if you're the employer of choice, that means people want to work there. I'm hoping that you're with me on a Thursday night at 7:50 p.m. because you want to be here, not because you're getting a paycheck. Let me say this to you. Somebody said, if you love what you do, you don't have to get paid to do it. And I can tell you for years and years, that was very true for me, probably been true for some of you. But here's what they also say. If you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. See, we don't want employees who come because I need a paycheck. We want people who come because I want to make a difference. I want to be the best that I can be so that I can make what we do the best that it can be. And when you start making what we do the best it can be, you're going to create that provider of choice environment that we just talked about, because people will know that these people believe in what they're doing. And being the employer of choice means that you have to empower the employees. And so I want to talk about that in my last slide. I'm going to come back to that. But I want you guys to know that the third piece of this little puzzle is that we want to be the investment in choice. Here's what I'm going to tell you, that it takes money to make honey. I mean, you just got to do the work. You got to be, but when you get results, did everybody hear what I just said? When you get results, then people are looking at you a different way. They're saying, not only did these people make fans, not only are the people who work there happy, but they get the job done. You know, that old saying that it's a moral victory, or we did our best, we gave it a shot, we put in the effort. I got good news for you. You need to get across the finish line with people, because right now there's a lot of opportunity to help people get to that next level. Now, I'm not a deficit mindset person. And what I mean by that is I'm not here to try to fix people. I'm not here to try to make people feel better. I'm here to try to help people live out their dreams. That's really what we want to do. We want to be focused on, well, what do you really want? What is it that you think would really make your life fulfilling? And by the way, not a lot of people have thought about what it would really take. And a lot of times they've already heard stories about, you know, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not white enough, black enough, brown enough, orange enough. You know, we've heard a lot of that. But here's what we're going to do. We want to change that thinking. That's the result we're looking for in this community, so that this community walks with pride, so that this community walks with purpose, so that it says, this is what we are about, and this is how we're going to get it done. And if we can do that, then we won't have to worry about money. Because here's what I want to tell you. When you can take that good care of the community will make sure you get well taken care of. I'm just here to tell you. So this idea of being a provider of choice, the employer of choice, the investment of choice, really rests on a few simple ideas as a team. So this is my last slide. I promise you, you will get out in time to go do whatever it is you need to do. So this is the first thing that I have to do. And I have to tell you, these are John challenges, right? Did anybody hear me say that? Because as the leader, you know, I just like to tell people what to do, right? My wife will tell you I'm a born supervisor. My kids will tell you I'm a born supervisor. If it's something that needs to be done, I feel really good about telling you how to get it done. On the other hand, I will be telling you because I ain't doing it. So I keep my mouth shut, and that's what I'm learning how to do. And this is what I try to do. Allow the people in the situation to make the decisions that will help them achieve the goals that they are looking for. Now, let me be real clear. Sometimes this is very difficult because I have experienced situations where doing exactly what they're doing left me flat on my face. And by the way, when I tell you I've been on flat on my face, some of you might not know, but I was going to treatment a few years ago. It's almost my second anniversary of my treatment, which is too amazing. And I remember I was in the street with my nose right in the middle of the asphalt, with my glasses scratched up on the top. So I've been in situations where I've fallen flat on my face, both physically and certainly professionally and financially and emotionally, because guess what? I'm a human being just like everybody else. But guess what? Living through those things taught me some stuff. Like I learned when I fell on my face that it's really important to look down before you take that next step. And guess what? I won't forget that. Does everybody know what I'm trying to say? So sometimes you have to let people make decisions, even when sometimes you would disagree with them, because guess what? That's how we learn. And, you know, too often what we try to do is say, well, no, don't do it that way, do it this way. And then what people always think in the back of their mind is what? Who could tell me? Who could tell me? Oh, we would have worked if I would have did it my way. So guess what? I learned the hard way that the only way that they will find out it won't work is for it what? Not to work. Does anybody follow with me? Now, I got to tell you, as a leader, that's not easy because, you know, you're like, well, people are watching and what are they going to say about us? And here's what I'm going to say to you. Well, once they learn the lesson, usually they don't make that same mistake twice. If they are, then that's my job to coach them out of that. But here's the really good news, that once we learn something, we usually don't do it twice in a row. I haven't fallen on my face since. So keep that in mind, that, you know, we aren't always doing somebody a favor when we rush out there and save them. Sometimes you just got to go through what you got to go through to get where you got to go. And I know sometimes you hear that and you think, oh, no, but I'm here to let you know that sometimes that is what it takes. And for a team to grow, it's got to go through some stuff. So I'm here to tell you guys, I want this to be fun. I want this to be successful, but I also want it to be real. And life is tough. So, you know, one of my favorite books, The Road Less Traveled, says, the first line in the book says, life is not fair. People think that life is supposed to be fair, that's supposed to give them everything they want. I'm here to suggest to you, stop thinking like that. The second thing is that you have to allow people on the team to confront the obstacles and overcome them. That's why I don't go to our staff meetings. That's why I don't come all the time when you're going to go on your outreaches, because I need you to get out there and look at what's in front of you and figure out how to get past it. And you won't always do that if the first thing you think of to do is look at me and say, Mr. Epps, can you fix this for me? A lot of times you may ask me to fix something and I may shake my head, but I'm going to let you figure out how to do that. And then the very last thing I wanted to say is that as members of the team, I want you to feel that you are responsible for both the successes and the failures of the team. If you take that responsibility for successes, it will make you proud of the work that you do. I don't know if anybody here has ever done it, but I've had times when I've done something, I was very successful, and somebody else took the credit. And I'm here to tell you, I don't like those people to this day. Now, I still work with them, but I don't like them. And the other side is, if you don't take responsibility for your failures, then you're not going to learn anything. So it's really critical for us when we're in these situations to recognize that as a team, we have to work together. We have to be ready to trust one another. We have to be willing to give more than we get. And if we can do that, then our lives will be better. So I want to thank you guys for putting up with me tonight. I know it's almost 8 o'clock on the dot. I'm back. Anybody got anything, just this is your chance. I'll stick around for a couple of minutes if you got something to say. Wow, everybody just looking at me.
I think it was amazing what you just went through.
Yeah.
It's really good. That was extremely well. I just want to say one thing. When you were playing the song, the words on one of the statements on that song was, "Please don't make me a hashtag or a slogan."
Yes.
I loved that, and it's exactly what we are trying to not do for these communities, is make them a number or a statistics, or we need to get down and dirty with them and get personal with them so they can trust us. And that comes with, if they see that we are vibing correctly, then they'll know that that's one of the ways that they'll know that they can trust us, if they see that we are getting together. If we're bickering in front of them, then they're not going to want to open up their mouths to say anything to us. So
Amen.
thank you for sharing that song. It was wonderful.
Yeah. Anybody else? We're getting to that point where Subair says,
Mr. Epps, are you in the office? Are you in the office tomorrow?
who?
Are you in the office tomorrow?
Nah, if I can help it.
Okay.
But you got my number, Mr. Frazier. Just call me.
I will do.
All right. All right. Anybody else? Hi. Anything else? This is last call.
I'm gonna watch out when I'm stepping off the curb.
Please. Let me tell you, it was not
Thank
pretty.
you.
It was not pretty. It was not pretty. I would show you pictures, but they were just too scary. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate all of the new faces. Thank you to each and every one of you. Please enjoy your weekend coming up. For those of you, again, who would like to join us on Tuesday at 10 o'clock, you are welcome to our meeting at CLD on Baristo, room 05. For those of you who can't join us, then please feel free to come back next week. Feel free to bring someone from your family, your friends, or at least they're your friends now until they meet us. They might not want to be your friends after they meet us. But bring someone to the meetings, feel comfortable to help us grow this community that we're trying to create, our village, so that we can really bring change to this area. Good night, everyone, and be blessed.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.